Here's something I never planned to say out loud in a room full of men. The most common complaint I hear from women in struggling relationships has nothing to do with arguing, nothing to do with money or time or attention in the way most guys assume. It's this: he touches me like he's checking something off a list. That one sentence changed how I approach everything I teach. I've been studying relationship behavior and attraction dynamics for a long time. And what I keep running into over and over again is a gap, not a gap in effort. Most men are trying. The gap is in understanding how a woman's body actually receives touch, not physically, emotionally. Because for women, those two things are not separate systems. They're the same system. And when a man doesn't understand that he can do everything right and still leave her feeling completely untouched. So that's what I want to dig into today. Specific areas of a woman's body that carry emotional weight most men don't know about. And more than just where, the how, the timing, the mindset that makes the difference between a touch that lands and a touch that disappears. Let me start with something that almost never comes up in these conversations. The wrists and the inside of the forearms. This area is overlooked in a way that genuinely surprises me. The inner forearm is one of the most nerve-rich surfaces on the female body, but more than that, it's exposed. When a woman shows you the inside of her wrist or her forearm, there's an element of openness in that. It's not a guarded part of the body. When you run your thumb slowly along that soft inner skin, not grabbing, not directing, just tracing, she registers something very specific. Attentiveness. You noticed something she didn't even consciously offer. That kind of noticing does more for attraction than almost any grand gesture. The temples and the sides of the forehead. I know this sounds clinical. Stay with me. Women carry an enormous amount of mental load, constant thinking, processing, planning, worrying about 17 things at once. The temples are where that pressure lives physically. When a man places his fingertips there gently, maybe, while she's lying down or sitting quietly, and just holds them there with a little warmth and zero expectation of anything following, her brain actually begins to down-regulate. The stress response softens. And in that softness, she becomes emotionally available in a way that no amount of verbal reassurance can manufacture. One woman described it to me as the first time I felt like someone actually knew I was tired, without me having to explain it. Her husband had done it without thinking. She remembered it for months. The back of the knees. Bear with me here because this one is counterintuitive. The back of the knee is one of the most sensitive spots on the female body, precisely because it's never touched with intention. It's almost always accidental contact. When a man touches this area deliberately, slowly during a quiet moment, maybe while sitting together, it registers as startling in the best possible way. Her body wasn't expecting to be noticed there. That unexpectedness creates a spike of awareness. She becomes more present, more tuned in to you. The surprise of being touched somewhere unassuming communicates that you're paying a different kind of attention than she's used to. The sternum, the center of her chest, just below the collarbone. Not the collarbone itself. The sternum, that vertical line down the center. There's something almost primal about this area for women. It sits directly over the heart, and that's not just poetic. Physiologically, the skin here is thin, and the nerve density is high. A slow, flat palm touch here, your hand resting against the center of her chest, feeling her breathe, is one of the most intimate, non-sexual touches that exists. Women have told me this specific gesture made them feel seen all the way through. That's not a small thing. That's the kind of contact that rewires how she thinks about a man. The space just behind the jaw, beneath the ear, running down toward the neck. This one requires something important first. She has to be relaxed. If there's any tension between you, any unresolved friction, this area will feel intrusive rather than intimate. But when the emotional climate is right and you approach it slowly, fingertips light, no pressure, just warmth, moving gently along that line, the response is almost involuntary. Her shoulders drop. Her breathing shifts. The body reads it as deep safety. I've seen couples in their 60s reconnect through exactly this kind of touch after years of emotional distance. Not because it's erotic, because it bypasses the thinking mind entirely and speaks directly to something older and quieter in her nervous system. It's not just which areas you touch, it's the order. Women's emotional and physical responses build in layers. If you go from zero contact to an intimate zone in 2 moves, her nervous system doesn't have time to open. It braces. But if your touch tells a story starting somewhere neutral and safe, moving gradually towards something warmer, giving her body time to say yes at each step, the experience she has is completely different. She's not just responding to where you ended up. She's responding to the entire journey of how you got there. Men who understand sequencing don't feel grabby or rushed even when they want the same things other men want. They just feel different, and that feeling is what women talk about when they say chemistry. Here's what I want you to actually walk away with. It's not a techniques plateau. What women respond to long term is a man who has made her body feel like somewhere worth paying attention to, not a destination, not a means to an end, a place he actually wants to be. When you approach touch that way, you don't have to think about zones or sequences or timing anymore. It becomes natural because your intention has changed. And she will feel that change before she can name it. Women always feel the shift in intention before they can explain it. That's just how attraction works for them. And now you know how to work with it instead of against it.